Hey everyone, good afternoon. I'm Harish Malavade with Fidelity Investments. I'm also a lead maintainer for Fluxnova project. I'm excited to take you over the Fluxnova journey in the next 25 to 30 minutes.
Hey there, my name is Pieter. I'm from NatWest. I've been working with BPM for about 25 years. We're co-maintainers with Fidelity, and we'd like to tell you more about Fluxnova.
Here is a quick look into the next 25 minutes. We'll talk a little bit about the importance of process orchestration in the digital transformation. We'll get into how Fluxnova as a platform provides value to automate, orchestrate, and accelerate your end-to-end business processes. We'll talk a little bit story behind the formation of community that Joe and Gab touched in the fireside chat, and how it provides the neutral governance over the next coming years. The potential use cases where Fluxnova can be applied, and I promise you we'll do a demo with Fluxnova in action. I want to start with a simple analogy. Take a look at this picture with a group of talented musicians, perfectly poised, but something important is missing in this picture. That's the music conductor. A group of talented musicians without music conductor are often going to create chaos or a harmony. That is exactly what happens when automation is done without process orchestration. We lose the efficiency, the impact of the truly connected experience that orchestration provides us. So these are some of the challenges without process orchestration. Today, most of our processes are complex. They involve integration across multiple systems, teams, and departments. Each one of them might have figured out their own individual piece of automation. For example, we might have automated credit check, customer request intake, or account verification. But when they are disconnected, they don't really create an impact of connected experience. And that is exactly what happens when automation is done in silos. They often lose the efficiency and the impact. I think I want to ask a simple question. So when these automations run in silos, we might have seen a lot of production incidents where they don't really connect or integrate together simply because they cannot figure out the next steps. The processes, when they are disconnected, also lacks visibility into end-to-end view, causing us to manually intervene and triage issues during the production scenarios, which could increase our operational cost, causing operational inefficiencies. Fixing these issues often involves coordination across the teams and groups, which might often be very time-consuming. That is where process orchestration comes into play. Process orchestration is like that music conductor. It ensures that everything is integrated together so an entire business workflow can run smoothly from start to finish. These are some of the values that process orchestration provides. Process orchestration, in today's financial industry, change is a constant. As the business grows, customer expectations rise. We also need to navigate through compliance and regulation standards that is very common in fintech industry. That is why I feel digital transformation is no more optional, it is urgent. Workflow automation with process orchestration at its core enables the consistent and efficient business outcomes by providing a framework. It also helps us in terms of scaling and agility to meet regulatory and compliance changes without a lot of impact. With process orchestration, you can put the workflow in a unified way, and these unified workflows provides us end-to-end visibility, helping us to identify the issues faster. BPM as a technology, there are many tools that supports orchestration, but BPM as a technology is being broadly adopted across the industry, just because I feel it is the only technology that supports open standards like BPMN and DMN, which provides the structural and strategic framework to design and execute the end-to-end process in a unified way. I think this is what leads us to Fluxnova, which is the core of the topic. Fluxnova is a new open source BPM platform that provides automation and orchestration capabilities to accelerate our business processes end-to-end. Like Gab mentioned, it is derived from Windows 7 Community Edition project, which went end of life, I think, a couple of weeks ago. At its core, Fluxnova has 4 core components that work together to provide a scalable process experience. A modeler, which is used by our BPM developers to design the process end-to-end together. This is mostly used by the developers. It is right now available in a desktop version. We have both Mac and Windows version where process models could be designed. A core engine where the executed or designed processes could be executed end-to-end. It supports BPM and DMN at its core. It is cloud compliant and supports things like Kubernetes, more from a scaling perspective. We also have a rich set of APIs. There are around 300 plus APIs that are supported by Fluxnova as part of our initial launch. And these APIs allow you to seamlessly integrate with your front-end application and as well as back-end applications. We have a monitoring UI where executed processes could be viewed visually, and they provide insights into the bottlenecks and the failures. Fluxnova is built on a composable architecture at its core, allowing you to design the processes and expose them as microservices. When they're exposed as a microservices, you could expose multiple microservices to compose them in a different way to create a more complex business functionality that is typically in fintech world. At its heart, it supports these guiding principles: modularity, where a process could be designed with a specific functionality. For example, a credit check, an account verification, account opening, etc. Reusability, where these modular functionals like credit check or account verification could be integrated together to create more complex functionalities like the entire account opening. Interoperability, the rich set of API that Fluxnova provides will allow you to integrate both with legacy and modern application. This allows us to modernize at our own pace. Like, we have multiple legacy applications today in our fintech industries, which are built about 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We also have mainframe technology that is still being broadly used. So Fluxnova will allow custom connectors that could be built to integrate with some of these. That way, there is interoperability across the. Fluxnova allows scalability. This is not a scalability in terms of the performance, but the scalability in terms of scaling your business needs. Because once you put an entire workflow together, it's easy to modify and deploy the changes with minimal disruptions. And lastly, Fluxnova allows a collaboration between the IT and the business, where initial logical workflow could be designed in conjunction with the business, and then the developers can modify those logical workflows to make it executable in a production-like environment. I think that's the Fluxnova at the core. We want to take you through some of the stories that Gab touched in the keynote as to why the community was formed, why could Fidelity not host it by itself. BPM as a technology is being broadly adopted in fintech industry for the orchestration needs. I think historically we have several vendors in play in the BPM technology: IBM BPM, I think Pega, and more recently Camunda in the last 7 to 10 years. When Camunda 7 Community Edition project end of life was made public, Fidelity understood that we need to drive our own destiny, as our CIO Joe mentioned, and we wanted to take control over the BPM strategy. And we also suspected this is not a unique challenge for us. There might be other companies that are facing similar challenges with Camunda 7 Community Edition project going end of the life. I think like multiple people mentioned in the keynote, open source allows us, open source is a catalyst for innovation, and it allows us for a shared progress, which is what made us to discuss with FINOS on neutral governance for something like for some critical technology like a BPM, especially where it is a commodity software and not really proprietary to any of our companies.
Yeah, so a few years ago, our CTO challenged us at NatWest as well, that we need to come up with an open source solution for our BPM problems. We also looked at the existing Camunda 7 platform and thought maybe we can maintain that ourselves. So we reached out to our OSPO, and our OSPO put us in touch with FINOS. FINOS quickly introduced us to Fidelity and set up some calls, and we started some workshops and figured out that between at least 2 maintainers, we can maybe have a shot at maintaining this product ourselves and developing it ourselves. Pretty soon, FINOS introduced some more names to the maintainers. As you can see, there's quite a few maintainers in there, and as you can see, those are very well-known financial institutions within the space. And that's a strong community, and that community has a strong belief that we can take this product and maintain it and deliver secure, robust financial services solutions going forward. Between all of us, we probably have, well, we definitely have hundreds of use cases and millions of active process instances that are earmarked to go onto Fluxnova. So we are reliant on the community to bring the solutions to market in a flexible, in a robust and secure manner. Speaking a bit about governance, with FINOS in the lead, governance is guaranteed to stay neutral. We are secured that with FINOS supporting it, we will be able to maintain no license costs, no vendor locking, no unexpected migrations. We're also looking at, in the future, taking the product even beyond the fintech scope, because BPM is a very popular product. And I'm sure there's other institutions that can also benefit from it. And we'll probably do that under the Linux Foundation brand. Lastly, on this slide, we have a call to action. So our first public maintainers meeting is on 18th of November. That's going to be a very interesting thing for us to talk to just the wider maintainer group. So anyone that has ideas that wants to contribute can come along and contribute. We don't just need developers. We don't just need people that can write code. We need BAs. We need testers. We need people with just ideas. If you have an idea of what you want to do for FINOS, what you want to do with Fluxnova, and make sure that it aligns to your strategy, come to the maintainers meeting and support it. Next slide, please. A bit of a brief word about the high-level architecture. Now, as stated, this is a fork of the Camunda 7 Community Edition project, and it's freely available under Apache 2.0. So anyone that's familiar with that platform will be familiar with these concepts. Essentially, we have a modeler on the left-hand side. This is where the business will draw up their artifacts, whether that's a BPM diagram showing the process flow or modeling their decisions. That's then handed over to a developer to add technical integration points. And we can then pass that over as a deployed artifact into the BPM engine. Into the core engine. In there, the BPM engine and the DMN engine will turn those graphical representations of your process into executionable code. It's important that when those processes run, you need to have a human in the loop sometimes for data entry, for starting cases, for completing cases, and that's where the task manager comes in. And the task manager is where your business users can log in and affect the system. We also know that people would like to use their own UIs. They're not locked into the task managers. So we have a workflow API which communicates over REST, where people can write their own UIs and interact with the system. We do have other integration points, Java APIs, external task workers, which can mean that you can delegate a piece of work to a microservice to do. Once it's completed, it'll give a control back to Fluxnova. And generally, there's an event API. So anytime state changes in the system, if a process is completed or a specific task is completed by a user, an event is published, and you can publish that event out on Event Bus to make sure that the rest of your architecture is aware of it as well. Speaking of state, we have a relational database, which underpins the state for the process engine. We support multiple popular vendors, and it's important to know that that state is just your process data. You're not locked into a relational database for designing your architecture. You can use the best database that suits your needs for that. Finally, we have the process monitor. Now, the process monitor is where your support staff will log in and have a look at the health of your processes, see if there's any incidents. For example, anyone that uses AWS will know that yesterday there was some sort of incident. If they were running their processes in Fluxnova, they would go in today, click retry because all those services are available, and the process will just continue on its merry way. Lastly, we have an operational reporting tool which you can log in, see the health of your, see the flows that are currently executed, see the total amount of processes that are active, see where the bottlenecks are, etc., and you can optimize your process from there on outwards.
I think one thing I wanted to highlight, I think all of us saw the AWS outage yesterday. I want to double click on the state management. If we had orchestrated our business, some of our business processes were able to come back to normal because they were orchestrated using something like Fluxnova. So the state is saved, and during outages like these, they could be taken back to the last success point, and they could be replayed. And the beauty is the developers get the option to choose those states on where they should be replayed and things like that during the outage scenarios. I think we want to take just highlighting a couple of them where Fluxnova can be applied as an orchestration tool, right? So this is not all the list of processes, but these are some of the common processes where Fluxnova can be used to really get that value of digitization, orchestration, and automation, and get the end-to-end visibility. Customer servicing is a common area that all the fintech industry goes through, like customer's name got changed, they need to update address, or they need to transfer assets, etc. Under investment, we can orchestrate more complex processes like trade processing or fund accounting. So if not a true orchestration with the actual things being done, but at least they can help us to gain the visibility in more complex processes like trade processing involving confirmation with the broker, settlement with the banks, and et cetera. In the banking sector, Fluxnova can be used to streamline processes like KYC or loan approval. In insurance, we could leverage orchestration in things like pricing the insurance to the actual settlement. I think we'll get into a demo, and in this demo, you're going to see a little bit of Fidelity-specific integration. That's where I want to give a little background on how we leverage orchestration within Fidelity. I think our CIO, Joe, mentioned during the fireside chat, the history goes back to, I think, 10 years. Fidelity being one of the largest investment company providing financial services to individuals, employers, wealth management firms, and even employers, like 401ks are a very famous plan. We aim to provide a digital experience to most of our customers, and we care a lot about their financial well-being and a good customer experience. So we have multiple channels where customers could reach out to us, fidelity.com as a website. They could reach out to us on the phone. They could reach our branch. So you could imagine, like, we have thousands of processes serving millions of customers. And that is where digitization and automation is at the core of what we deliver. And here is like one such process. Over the last 6 to 7 years, we have been using BPM technology to orchestrate and automate as much as possible. In traditional development, they were automated using an application development like leveraging Java and microservices. More recently, in the last 7 years, I think we have roughly over 100 such processes that are automated using BPM technology. That is why it is really important to us. I think in the keynote, Bhupesh mentioned, pick a project where you want to contribute during the initial phase. And this was the project that we really wanted to contribute during the initial stage to get that sort of ROI back to us. A name change process at a high level, coming back to the actual process, this is where all the concepts that we explained in Fluxnova come together. This is a visually designed process that is executable in the production. A name change process at a high level involves 3 steps. Before we come to this step, customer could initiate a name change through a web portal or through the phone. All of those can call this process ultimately. It has a validation piece. Each of these steps involve multiple tasks. Validation involves things like looking up our internal systems. That is where the capability that Fluxnova provides in terms of service tasks to call an API to validate the data would comes in handy. Then there is a review process where human in the loop is involved, where a data provided by customer, it could be a document, is reviewed by an associate and put it back to the STP straight to processing bucket. There are certain decisions involved throughout the process. In the finalization, once the decision is made by a rep or a customer representative, it goes through updating system of records, which again is a subset of calls. It also has these message notations that you can see after the decisions, where the orchestration goes through the STP and waits for customer to respond. If the process is rejected, if the name change request was rejected, it waits for customer to provide that additional clarity, allowing us to asynchronously integrate with the customer integration. It also gives there are some timer events where we could say, this request needs to be completed or customer needs to provide clarity within the 14 days. If not, the process is going to end and customer has to reinitiate the request. And you could also see some of those plus points. I wish I had a pointer, but there are plus points where it says update request tracker. Throughout the process, whatever is happening in the backend, we could update status through the events that I think Peter touched on in the architecture. So customer is kept in loop, whether he's looking at the portal for a status update, or we could integrate with communication platform like sending out an email and etc. So you will see throughout this is a quick demo. I think it's playing. So you will see customer logging into Fidelity website to initiate a name change request. He's going to go to this portal, provide his new name, and then upload a marriage certificate because she got married and she wants to change her name and reflect all the accounts with the updated name. The documents are uploaded. This is where the front end integrates with the Fluxnova. A web could be integrated through an API layer. And Fluxnova monitoring view provides a real-time view into the processes that are executed within the system. Right now, there are like 23 name change requests. Here is one particular name change request that we just initiated. You could view all the contextual information, whether it was provided as part of the process start or whether it was aggregated during the process. Once it is all done, now rep has to make a decision. He will see a task in the queue. For the sake of demo, we are showing Fluxnova task list, but in our real production, it is integrated with our own operation UI. So you could really integrate tasks with your own UI. Now, customer is looking at, the rep is looking at all the information that are provided. He reviews the document. This demonstrates, you could integrate Fluxnova with your own document management system. It could be anything that you use within your companies. So now rep rejects this request because one of the document that is uploaded is not clear. This sends out the communication back to customer, which is where customer gets an email notification or SMS notification, or he could log into app and in the status tracker, he can see that his request was rejected. So now customer views the notification and re-uploads the documentation, which is again going to put the process back into the straight-through mode. Now rep will review, and for the sake of demo, he's going to approve this, which will update the system of record. There could be like 20 different systems that may have to be updated. There could be 10, depending on the complexity of the process, concluding the process. So what this shows is a real view of how Fluxnova could be leveraged in orchestrating a simple process like name change. So if we apply this concept to the larger processes like trade processing, et cetera, the value is tremendous in terms of how orchestration could help us. With that, I think that concludes the demo. Peter?
Yeah, so what would 2025 be without a mention of AI and how we can apply it? The good news is that Fluxnova is going to keep focusing on what Fluxnova does best, which is deterministic AI. A deterministic AI basically means you have a sequence of steps. They need to be followed, the same sequence of steps every time. So if you look at the diagram, you can see we have a fraud detection step, and then followed by optional 3 steps of what the outcome of the fraud detection is, right? Where AI comes in is AI is really, really good at making dynamic decisions based on the data. So what we can do is we can say, we can update the fraud detection step to be using your preferred AI model, probably open source AI, as discussed earlier. Once the data is passed to the AI makes a bunch of decisions. Currently with an AI, there's as Gab mentioned, it's using MCP. That's the latest open emerging standard. And MCP is a tool for connecting your AI to various different endpoints to call, tools to make decisions. Now, the good thing about those tools are they are usually a deterministic process, right? So in that tool, you can have a thing that goes and looks up some data, does some reasoning, and then passes the value back to the AI. Or your AI can instruct someone, or can instruct a tool to go execute some sort of operation. Those are all deterministic workflows which can be executed in Fluxnova. So you can see there, for example, the bottom process that we have there is a tool that gets called where the AI has decided to refund somebody $10 million. Maybe that's not a good idea. So you can get your human back in the loop by saying in your tool, modeling a human back in the loop, which you can then access and see somebody that can go and verify, yes, you should be approving this refund to somebody else. And the other benefit that you would get from modeling these things in Fluxnova is logging into the process monitoring tool. You can see where your process started. You can see it called this and this and this and this tool. You can see the inputs to those tools. You can see the outputs to those tools. And you can know exactly what your AI does, which kind of demystifies the bit of a black box connotation that it does have. Next slide, please. So hopefully, people are ready to adopt Fluxnova. If you're brand new, we have documentation on our website. There's a link on the following screen, a QR code. There's guides there, there's documentation, there's tutorials. It's basically adding some dependencies to your dependency manager, and off you go. However, if you're an existing user of Camunda 7 community platform, we have some very good news. We have a migration tool which will migrate your source code. You can point it to your repository. It'll run, well, first you update your source code to the latest version of Camunda 7 community platform. Then you run the tooling that we provide, which will go in, change all the namespace lookups, refer everything to Fluxnova. Once you've done that step, you can run it through your usual pipelines, get all your tooling to validate that the build still works, and then you can just deploy it as an upgrade to your application. This is very, very simple. Because there's no upgrade, there's no dual running of platforms, there's no having an old system and a new system and then having some dynamic routing to route your cases in the right place. It's just the same application, it just keeps working as an upgrade. Your data in your database remains untouched, we don't touch it, there's no migration and mapping variables from one system to another one. There's no architecture changes, there's no synchronous processes or processes that used to execute synchronously, which now has to execute asynchronously. Everything, all the key concepts remain the same, so it just stays an inline upgrade, and there's no logic changes. None of your business logic changes. The benefits of this is obviously the workflows are preserved, there's a lot lower risk, there's obviously a lot lower cost of migrations, and there's reduced disruption to your organization overall.
I think that concludes everything about Fluxnova, but we do wanted to give you a peek into our roadmap. So as announced, our first release is going to be available on November 11th. It'll include all the core components that will work together to create the scalable process automation experience. It also comes with a sandbox. We already have the sandbox ready. You can try. We have a website and the documentation that gives more detail into different capabilities that we could not demonstrate in the 30 minutes presentation. Our release 2 is already locked with 5 maintainers expressing the interest. In release 2, we will be modernizing our monitoring UI by adding more enterprise-grade capabilities like process instance migrations and token movement, et cetera, which are required for more operational day-to-day usage. And obviously, there's no open source versus enterprise difference here, so all those capabilities are going to be available in our Fluxnova release. No FINOS talk is complete without talking FTC3, so we are evaluating FTC3, how that could integrate with Fluxnova to provide that truly connected experience between the operations and the actual orchestration that happens both internally and externally. We are also thinking about providing some centralized developer experience to version control these processes. I did refer 100 processes in Fidelity over the last 6 years, and I think together across the maintenance, we have maybe 500, 600, hundreds of processes and millions of process instances executed on a daily basis. So we have to make sure the developers are able to manage those processes together, and these 100 processes in Fidelity at least attributes to like thousands of process models in a modular way. So we're going to invest a little bit on making those centralized developer capabilities available. We are thinking a lot about AI, like Pieter talked about how Fluxnova as an orchestration tool integrate with AI and provide those values. What could be reusable there that could be provided out of the box within the Fluxnova platform? For example, some document processing, some cycle time prediction when the process is started, how the cycle time could be predicted, and et cetera. I think with that being said, Fluxnova is more than just a platform. It's a movement towards the open collaboration and the process excellence that was mentioned a couple of times in a couple of talks during the keynote. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to build a future of process orchestration with you. Explore the project, contribute, and help us shape the future of process orchestration together. Here is a team that is available from the maintainers at OSFF. We also have a panel discussion tomorrow. We have a booth where you can where we can deep dive into what Fluxnova provides. You can scan the QR code to get to our website and learn more about Fluxnova.
One more thing, see you at the maintainers call on 18th of November. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.